Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we're going to head over to Kintyre on the west coast of Scotland, and we're going to return to a brewery who I rate pretty highly actually. So we're going to return it to Fyne Ales today, and we've got quite an exciting new thing to have a look at from them today. So we're going to have a wee look at their Workbench IPA first draft. Now Fyne Ales, as I've always told you, when it comes to Scottish craft beer, there tends to be two categories when it comes to the breweries. They always tend to brew either in the traditional sense, or they tend to brew the new world sort of styles of beer. And Fyne Ales kind of have been one that have kind of straddled the middle road a little bit, if you like, but they do seem to be becoming a little bit more adventurous and moving more and more into the American styles of beer. So I think there's exciting times ahead, and that seems to be since they've kind of opened up their new brewing facility that they have there. But they're a very exciting brewery. One of my favourite beers from these guys, of course, was the Mills and Hills. That's one of the best imperial stouts I've found in Scotland, if not the best imperial stout I've tried from Scotland. And also the Jarl. The Jarl is a really lovely kind of session pale ale or session golden ale sort of thing. It's a really nice beer, but I'm definitely looking forward to this one. It seems to be one of their more adventurous IPAs that they've done recently, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the history of the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Fyne Ales before. No doubt I will add some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beers based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there, of course, for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Fyne Ales then. So Fyne Ales was founded by Johnny and Tuggy Delap, who put together the concept for the brewery back in the year 2000, and basically they wanted to bring back good beer to a part of the country where it was really quite lacking. I mean, there really wasn't very much going on in Kintyre at that time at all, but the brewery is located on the Achadunan estate near Cairndow at the very top of the Mull of Kintyre. But in 2001 they installed their brewery, and they had their first brew on St Andrew's Day, and the first beer that they produced was the Highlander, which still is in production today, and that's one that I do still need to try actually. I need to make sure and review that for you at some point when I'm home just now. But that year they also introduced Kenny Mackay as their head brewer, and in 2006 the head brewer changed, so they recruited Will Wood as the head brewer from Oakham Ales in England. But sadly in 2009 Johnny Delap died, and the running of the brewery was taken over by his son Jamie, and the brewery now annually hold their Fyne Fest, which started back in 2010, and they've also just opened up a new brewing facility as well, which has obviously expanded their capacity quite a lot, and I do suspect this is the reason that they are starting to get a little bit more adventurous and producing more and more different beers. But they produce things at consistently high quality. As I said, probably my favourite beer I've had from them in terms of the lighter side would be the Jarl, and I also really like the Mills and Hills, which was a collaboration that they did with Brouwerij de Molen from Bodegraven in the Netherlands. But like I said, the brewery's actually on an estate, and you can actually, I think they do beef, they do, there's salmon, I think they also, I've got a feeling they might do oysters and things like that as well. So, and you can actually go onto the estate and stay and rent out a cabin and things like that. So it's a really nice part of the world, of course. The Mull of Kintyre is very pretty, but it is very rural of course. But do make sure you go up and have a little look at it. Inverery's close by actually, and there's a really good chippy there and a nice castle and everything like that. So if you get the chance, make sure you go to Fyne Fest. I really need to make sure and do that at some point in the future, because a lot of the really good breweries, both from Scotland, England and further afield, do go out there and have a look at it. But if you get the chance to try some of the Fyne Ales, I really recommend that you do. And I would personally, I would recommend probably the either the Ragnarok or the Jarl. Those are probably my two favourite beers so far, but definitely looking forward to this one, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on it. So yeah, I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork then before we open this up. As you can see, really nicely presented. I quite like the artwork on this one. It's a little bit different from the other ones that they've produced before. It is actually kind of just like a sort of Highland theme actually. It's this, the artwork on this is really cool, so if you're watching Fyne Ales, do keep that up. It says on the back here, the Workbench IPA project is Fyne Ales exploration and brewing one of the most the most diverse styles of beer available today, with specific attention paid to hop infusion methods. So first draft features a liberal hopping schedule with Citra and Nelson Sauvin, complemented by a generous palette of dry hopping using Summit and Mosaic. So yeah, it should be really nice actually. So as you can see, 5.5% ABV, and there you can see there is the typical Fyne Ales bottle cap on this one. This is on all of their beers, of course. So yeah, 5.5% IPA, hopped with Citra, Mosaic, Nelson Sauvin and Summit. Nelson Sauvin, of course, is a beautiful hop. It gives you these lovely kind of white grapey notes. Mosaic tends to give you a nice kind of tangerine character. The Citra tends to be a little bit more of a sort of mango note, and then Summit, it has a little bit of an orangey character to it as well, but it's a kind of peppery, spicy floral hop, if I remember rightly. So really interesting hops in this one, and I'm very interested to see how they go together actually. It'll be a really interesting beer, this. This one, of course, was another one that I got from Hippo Beers over in Glasgow. Sam is very kind there and keeps a lot of the beers for me when I see them come in, so I think I'll be being a regular customer there. But go and check out Hippo Beers in Glasgow if you get the chance. Valhalla Goat, of course, is another very good beer shop over there as well. But as you can see, this has poured a really nice, quite rich, dark kind of orange colour. There's a solid finger of a frothy white head on this one. It's just going to fade away though, but you can really get a lot of nice juicy fruit coming out of the aroma here. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head, but I think it's fair to say it's a kind of blood hazy, sort of blood orangey colour, this one. It is kind of coming across as a hazy IPA, which I didn't expect because the pictures on the website were showing it as being quite clear, but it looks really, really quite nice. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. That smells really nice, I have to say. I love these big juicy IPAs. I mean, New Zealand hops for me, if I had to pick what country my favourite hops come from, it probably would be New Zealand. I just love that really distinctive, wet, juicy character that they have. And you can really get a lot of that in here. I mean, there's only one New Zealand hop in here, but I always find if you combine New Zealand hops with American ones, the whole beer just becomes, it just smells a lot more fruity and juicy. But with this one, it's really interesting. There's a lot of tangerine orange coming out of this, as you would expect. That's the Mosaic and a little bit of the Summit as well. And you can smell some of the nice kind of citra notes. You can smell that little bit of juicy mango in there, but you can also get the things that are coming out a bit later on, like the lychee and a little bit of that kind of lemon limey note. It's maybe even a little bit kind of melony as well. Of course, one of my other favourite hops, of course, if you want melons, is the Styrian Wolf from Slovenia. That's a beautiful hop, but of course Slovenia is a small country geographically, so you don't get so much of that produced. It's actually a very difficult hop to get a hold of, even if you're home brewing, because it's one that I would love to play with a little bit. But it smells really nice. I mean, you're getting a bit of lychees, a little bit of lemon limey note, a kind of melony character as well, which can be, as I say, Citra gives you a real complexity when it comes to tropical fruits. But there's a good bit of that spicy floral aromaticity in there. And you can, when you take it in a little bit more deeply, you get a little bit of that really kind of characteristic white, kind of green grapey note from Nelson Sauvin. It really, the Nelson Sauvin is a very, very distinctive hop. It's a really beautiful hop actually. And it was, I think for a period of time, it was very sought after, and it was actually very difficult to get. But you can really smell some of that lovely white grapey character in this one. But like I said, a bit of a spicy floral aromatic note, but it's not as spicy as I would have expected from Summit. I think the juicy characters from the other hops are kind of pushing that out the way, but it becomes a little bit lighter and grassy. And underneath you can get a little bit of a white bready character from the malt base, maybe a wee bit of a biscuity note as well. But mainly bready, I would stick with that. So there's some really nice fruity characters this one. This IPA really does lean a little bit more towards the kind of to the fruity side of things rather than anything else, but it has exactly what you'd expect if you know the hops. But without further ado then, let's get stuck into this one. So this one, just to remember the name of it, it's the Workbench IPA, first draft from Fyne Ales up on the Achadunan estate near Cairndow in the Mull of Kintyre. 5.5% IPA with some cracking American hops and a New Zealand hop as well. Slàinte. That's pretty good actually. That's a really quite nice beer. It definitely, I mean, as I was saying to you, the thing with Fyne Ales that I've always found, they do have a little bit of a distinctive malt base, and this one I think has a little bit of that as well. It does have this kind of New World American hop quality to it, but it does have a little bit of that kind of Old World malt base to it, I think. But they certainly have done a nice job with this. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this beer again. They have done a really quite nice job of this. So yeah, I mean, the malt base with this one is as you'd expect. It's got that kind of white bready character. There's a little bit of biscuity sweetness in there, but it does have that kind of that typical kind of grainy note. As I said, Fyne Ales I've always found are a brewery who kind of straddle the line between the kind of New World beers and the Old World beers, if you like. And the malt base in this one does have a distinctively kind of Old World style quality to it. And that's one thing I think that works very well for them. It is a kind of trademark, I guess, of the brewery, or not a trademark, but one of their kind of signature things. And I do find that with the Jarl as well. When I went back to the Jarl and the Ragnarok, having not had them for a wee while, you do get that kind of typical malt base to it. This one, to me, has the same malt base, I think, as Jarl. I'm not sure about it exactly, but it has that similar feel to it, and that is a kind of signature of the brewery. But I do like how this one comes across. There's some really interesting things going on in this. So, on the hoppy side of things, which is of course the focus of this one, I actually was going to call it the Workman's IPA rather than the Workbench IPA. But they've done a good job with this. It's, you know, they need to keep playing like this. This is what I like, is when they start to get a little bit more adventurous. But in the back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness there. That'll be the Mosaic, and probably a little bit of the Summit, bringing that out. But as you come further forward, you can feel that floral aromaticity there just kind of pushing its way out on the edge of the tongue. You can feel a little bit of that spicy character, which will be the Summit, just pushing its way out on the front corner of the palate and around the front curve of the tongue. It's quite grassy. There is a little element of floral character to the front curve of your palate, but it's got a little bit of a lemongrassy note as well. But that's a nice beer. I'd love to try this on draft actually, and just see how the kind of smoothness of a draft pour would make this, because in the glass and in the bottle, when it will be a little bit more carbonated, it is actually very, very nice. And I've always found that with the Fyne Ales actually. I think Fyne Ales, their beers come out really, really nicely on tap. There are certain breweries that have that, and when you have a little bit of that extra smoothness, especially when they like to do the malt base in the way that they do, it just gives the beer something a little bit extra. But in the bottle, it is really nice. So yeah, the fruity side of this beer then. So yeah, there's a good bit of tangerine note. I mean, like I said, the Summit and the Mosaic will give you this nice kind of tangerine-y, orangey note, and it's not got the strength that you would expect of the orange. That's the kind of distinction with the Amarillo. The Amarillo gives you a really oily orange. The Mosaic and the Summit give you a more kind of tangerine note, I always feel. It's just that little bit lighter and kind of juicier. I'm not getting all that much in the way of the grapey note from the Nelson Sauvin actually, which is quite interesting. That comes out a little bit into the aftertaste, but there's not all that much of it. You've seen how long it was since I took a sip, and I'm just starting to get a little bit of that kind of white grapey note that you would expect from the Nelson Sauvin. There's a wee bit of the mangoes as well, but you can feel from this, and I suspect it's from the Citra, you can feel a little bit of that kind of grapefruity note just kind of underpinning the fruits. Then the other things start to come out as, I guess, what you would say, the kind of complexities of the beer. You can feel the tangerines coming out, the little bit of that white grapey note, and there is a wee bit of the mango as well. But for me, there's just a little bit of a kind of grapefruity note that's underpinning this beer, and all the other things start to come out when you get into a little bit more of the complexities. I think there's a wee bit of an almost lemon limey note coming out of it as you go further and further into the aftertaste as well. Yeah, I would definitely kind of stick with that. There is a little bit of that lemon limey kind of flavour coming out of it. I don't know, there's maybe a wee bit of a kind of watermelony note as well as you go further into the aftertaste too. But the beer, it certainly, in terms of the fruity notes, it has a lot of complexity to it, and that's what you would expect with these hops, especially the Mosaic and the Citra, actually. The Nelson Sauvin It's a really nice hop, but it's quite straight up in that green grapey character. The summit can have a little bit of a complexity to it, but I've always found it has more to do with the bittering rather than the fruitiness in my experience. But it's a really quite nice beer, this, and I do like it. It's for if you're used to Fyne Ales and you've tried Jarl and things like that. It is cool to try to make them. To see them kind of trying something new, but also using that slightly signature malt base that they have. So if you're a fan of this brewery, I think you are going to really quite enjoy this beer, because it keeps what you expect from them, but in the same time it kind of does something a little bit new as well with these different hops. I don't know if they have other beers that use the likes of Nelson Sauvin and Mosaic and things like that. I think it's I can't remember what other hops that they've used in their other beers. But they certainly do some really nice stuff. So if you get the chance to try some of the Fyne Ales beers, I would recommend that you do. In terms of the mouthfeel of this beer then, I would say it's probably on the lighter side of mid-bodied actually. There's a good bit of... the carbonation is fairly soft on it, but it does have a little bit of activity. Yeah, there's a little bit of... character to it, but mainly it's quite soft. The mouthfeel of this one, it's a little bit oily. It does have a wee bit of a kind of smoothness to it as well, even with the appearance of this beer, it's not one of these big kind of hazy IPAs that you're going to find from America. But there's a good bit of hoppy bitterness to it. It's not going to blow your head in terms of IBUs. The malt base is pretty straight up. Like I said, there's a wee tiny bit of sweetness to it, but overall it's quite smooth, and it does have a little bit of grainy dryness, and there's quite a lot of juicy fruit to this one. So the way to sum up this beer is that it has the classic kind of golden ale or pale ale malt base that you would expect from Fyne Ales, but they get a little bit more adventurous with a hop. So if that sounds like it's going to hit the spot for you, I'm sure you will, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again. And I'm excited to see what they do with this kind of Workbench series. I think it's quite cool to see that they are getting a little bit more adventurous, because they've produced good beers for quite a while, but they haven't experimented as much as they maybe could have. So hopefully this is the kind of the start of things. But they are quite a prolific brewery. They do try quite a few different things, but it's cool to see them experimenting a little bit more with the new world styles. But Fyne Ales are really good, and if you get the chance to try some Scottish beers, Fyne Ales is a really good place to start. So yeah, I think that's a good way to sum up this review. But once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below, and let me know what your favourite beers are from Fyne Ales as well. Personally, I would recommend the Ragnarok, the Jarl, or the Hills and Mills, but there are a few others that I still need to try, so you will see me review those at some point in the near future. But the Workbench IPA First Draft is a pretty damn good beer, so make sure you check it out. It's Slangy just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Cheers.